Yo, so I was talking about how the money supply was a leading indicator for inflation or deflation with a 100% track record in the previous video, and I wanted to elaborate on it because in March of 2020, the CARES Act and Q Infinity was announced with zero and strip policy. CARES Act being the stimulus checks, Q Infinity being the unlimited purchase of treasuries and mortgage-backed securities. 1 year later, 12 months later, in March of 2021, inflation accelerated past the purple horizontal line, which is 2%. And then it peaked 27 months out after the expansion of the money supply from here to here. So from March of 2020 until June of 2022 is when the CPI in orange peaked. I guess that's a form of yellow color, whatever. The yellow. And then the orange line, which is the money supply, started rolling over, and so did the inflation rate. What's interesting is this was the peak in the in the inflation rate as the money supply was peaking. 12 months out, we got close down to we got close to the 2% target, down at roughly 3%. Actually, it was 3%. And then if we extrapolate the same kind of thesis out, 27 months out after the pivot in the money supply direction, 27 months out, that puts us in September, October of 2024, and that could lead to massive deflation by September, October. Looks extremely probable, which is what history tells us. How bad will the deflation be? I don't know, 4, 5, 6, 7% maybe. That is not gonna happen naturally. That will happen because something really bad is happening, like in '08. You got deflation right here because the economy was crumbling and the stock market was tanking hard. When the asset bubble pops, it will lead to a massive deflationary spike. I don't know exactly how deep it goes, but probably greater than back in '08. And you had inflation that led to deflation month over month, and a quarter of deflation back in '09. Same arguments that were being presented back in '07 for why this time is different. The soft landing is the same thing today. What do I mean by that? If we go to the yield curve and we overlay SPX and the unemployment rate, this article is written, ignore the date. Just imagine this was written today. It's the same arguments as today. So let's say that this has December 26th, 2023. Okay, just imagine that. US inflation pressures are easing and the economy should manage a soft landing. All right? When did they say that? Right there. When the yield curve was coming out of inversion, re-steepening through bull steepening, and rates were coming down. The stock market in orange was falling over, and the unemployment rate in blue started going up. The same arguments are being made today. You can see this is what the chart looked like back then, right? This is what they saw back then. The unemployment rate is at a historical low. The stock market is at an all-time high, but they have inverted yield curve. This time is different because it looks like the economy is strong, right? Oh shit, it wasn't different. Same thing over here, right? Stock market at an all-time high, unemployment rate at a historic low, yield curve inverted. It looks very, very good. Oh shit, it was a crash, right? And then let's ignore COVID then, since people are gonna blame it on a black swan event. Same principle applied there, but let's just exclude that. And let's just say we're in the same business cycle because of the bailout that we got back in March of 2020. How is this any different? Unemployment rate at historic low, but you're starting to see it creeping up 4.9% in November. Like Friedman said, there is much evidence that the monetary changes have their effect only after a considerable lag, which is what I brought up, right? can see the lag effect here. Money supply expands 12 months until we get above 2%. Peaks 27 months after the acceleration M2. 12 months after the peak in M2, we get down to close to 3%, or I mean close to 2%, which is the horizontal purple line. 27 months out puts us in deflation around September, October of 2024. This is what he said as well. There is much evidence that the monetary changes have their effect only after considerable lag and over a long period, and that the lag is rather variable. We have found that on average of 18 cycles, peaks in the rate of change in the stock of money tends to precede peaks in general business cycle by about 16 months, and troughs in the rate of the change in the stock of money to precede troughs in general business by about 12 months. For individual cycles, the recorded lead has varied between 6 and 29 months at peaks and between 4 and 22 months at troughs. Monetary and fiscal policy is rather like a water tap that you turn on now and that then only starts to run 6, 9, 12, 16 months from now. It is because there's a long lag in reaction to policy that you have this tendency for policy to in fact have an effect opposite to that intended. Or again, thus you have a situation such that when the Federal Reserve System takes action today, the effect of that action may on some occasions be felt 5 months from now, and on other occasions 10 months from now, and on other occasions 2 years from now. That is the major reason why it is so difficult as a technical matter in the present state of our knowledge to know what measures one ought to take at any given time. This is the greatest economist of all time that the central bankers bow down to. But this time it's different. Well, we're gonna see if this theory holds true. I'm in the deflationary camp. I think we're gonna see deflation. Oh, why not? It happens every time. So